But I don't care about that either.
He's the only professional player I've ever heard in my life who would make criticisms of Pelé.
Off the field, he was all right. He's, you know, a very quiet person, lovable person. On the field, I had some problems with him, yeah.
There was a memorable episode in the Cosmos locker room when Chinaglia said that he was disgusted that Pelé wasn't giving him the service that he needed to score goals. Pelé, you can imagine, is not used to teammates criticizing him, fired right back and said, "You shoot from no fucking angle." And Chinaglia jumped off his stool and shouted, "I am Chinaglia. If I shoot from some place, it's because Chinaglia can score from that place." And Pelé was near tears, shook his head and walked out of the locker room.
I didn't want him to do bad. I wanted him to do well. But he kept coming inside next to me, and I said, you know, listen, one guy's going to mark the two of us. So try to stay wide because you'll be more effective and you'll score goals.
All great goal scorers have an ego. Give me the ball. Why are you giving it to Pelé? Give it to me. He wants the ball. He wants to score.
Listen, my friend, if you don't have egos in life, especially in the sports, you're not going to go very far.
The two huge personalities did have one thing in common.
Giorgio had his locker room with his blue velvet robe and his Chivas Regal, pack of cigarettes, sunglasses. He had it all.
The women went wild. They just went wild.
I remember one night, there was Pelé with a blonde on each arm. He looked at me and he smiled and said, "Not for the book, my friend."
He'd sit in the lobby in every town, often by himself, doing the old winky-winky, like he was on the cruise.
Their shared passion for life may have cost them a shot at the championship. In the second round of the 1976 playoffs, the heavily favored Cosmos faced the Tampa Bay Rowdies and Rodney Marsh.
We knew them and we knew about the Cosmos team and we knew the personnel. So we had a limo that met them off the plane with two girls in the limo and two bottles of Chivas Regal. And 24 hours later, at the game, they both came out onto the pitch looking very much the worse for wear.
Tampa Bay won the match 3-1.
Steve Ross was not happy.
He didn't like to lose games, or no, he didn't like to lose in anything. You know, he didn't like to lose in board games. You know, so yeah, a soccer game, no, he hated to lose a soccer game. And championship games, you didn't want to lose one of those.
Immediately following the loss in '76, Ross took his team where it could be truly appreciated.
We went on tour, playing all over Europe, France, and in Belgium, and Switzerland, and in Italy.
They went on 2 exhibition tours in the span of 7 months.
We became like the ambassadors of goodwill.
Steve Ross wanted them to be treated like great stars.
We travel first class, 5-star hotels, unlimited budgets, no such thing as per diem.
They weren't spending that money, they were spending shareholders' money.
The publicity that we generated for Warner was enormous. Publicity that they couldn't buy.
One little stockholder said to us, "Mr. Ross," at the annual meeting, "what does this cost? Do you lose money?" He says, "Well, we lose some money." "Well, how much do you lose?" And he looked at her straight in the eye and said, 2 cents a share. And the whole audience applauded. What a wonderful venture this is. Not recognizing that 2 cents a share was $5 million.
In 10 years, American soccer had developed into a different game than world football. The league had tailored the rules for American fans.
There had to be a winner. If it ended 2-2, you went into a mini-game after that. And if it stayed at 2-2 or even became 3-3, You had to go to what was called the North American Soccer League shootout, going one-on-one with the goalkeeper from 35 yards out, dribbling in and having 5 seconds to get your shot off. And I loved it.
I thought it was fantastic.
It makes the game more emotional.
I still think in Europe they should try it.
In the spring of '77, Steve Ross was at last able to move the Cosmos across the Hudson River to Giant Stadium for Pele's final season. While the league had Americanized the game, Steve Ross wanted to take it a step further.
He asked me to prepare a plan, which included the Cosmos cheerleaders, the halftime show, Bugs Bunny, who I was able to get from Jungle Habitat, Americanizing the game.
Americans like putting their kind of own twist and flavor to things, and I think that that's what they were trying to do, to basically have more of the American fans kind of come in and embrace it.
At the same time, he continued internationalizing his team, surrounding Pele and Canaglia with 14 new players from 7 different countries.
We were the first team that had a totally international squad.
It was like Noah's Ark, okay? There was something to please everybody.
Nevertheless, they lost 3 of their first 5 games, averaging little more than 20,000 fans in their new giant home.
Here we're putting up, a lot of money on the field, and we were not drawing. So he wanted to make a change, raise the bar.
They sent me to Germany. They sent me to sign Franz Beckenbauer.
Turned back by Jeff Hurst in England in the classic World Cup final of 1966, the Kaiser would lead his country to glory 8 years later.
Talk about someone who was the ultimate team leader, the one that organized in the back and was just so calm and collective on the ball. You never got the sense that he was in any sort of state of panic, regardless of whether he was up by 4 goals or down by 4 goals.
Twice voted European Player of the Year, Franz Beckenbauer was lured to America at the height of his career.
I knew Pelé was there, Giorgio Canaglia was there, but the rest I didn't know. So it was an adventure.
Giorgio was berserk. Why do we need to hire Beckenbauer? Why do we need Beckenbauer here? We don't need him at all. Now, he was the third banana.
Beckenbauer's first game was a 4-2 loss to arch-rival Tampa Bay. The following week, they beat Toronto at home in front of 31,000 fans. Steve Ross wanted more.
Steve was what you would call a star.
Every time, somebody was in New York shooting a film or doing an album or whatever, they got dragged to a Cosmos game.
Warner Communication. You own a movie company, you own 6 record companies, cable. I think you can get celebrities. I think that's pretty easy.
Actors, actresses, politicians, you name it, we had them all at the stadium.
I mean, I don't know who they were. I mean, the bloody locker room was littered with people. It was becoming a joke.
Henry Kissinger never missed a game.
I have a passion for what we call soccer.
I remember once Gordon Bradley looked over in the corner and saw this guy with longish hair, skinny as a rail, looked like he was on drugs. He told our security guy, "Get that guy out of here."
Who is this guy? Everybody came going and said, Mick Jagger. He didn't recognize him because he looked so terrible.
Jagger and Kissinger were welcomed on a weekly basis, while the first 2 men on the Cosmos team were quietly shown the door.